And then we come to the selecting performance indicators and goals. We already had a discussion on energy performance indicators. For example, this ISO 14031 guidelines for environmental performance evaluation gives this framework that if you are developing performance indicators for your production processes, inputs, process, and outputs, these should also lead towards the environmental condition indicators. So this is a general framework that they have provided, so that whatever we're doing in the production, actually most of these things are linked towards the environmental impacts as well. So we need to calculate the environmental impacts as well. This is what is kind of a reference for us and for ISO 50001 as well, when it says that the companies have to develop energy performance indicators. And the GHG protocol and HIG-FEM requires to calculate GHG emissions as well. In the left-hand box, we will put in energy performance indicators. And on the right-hand side, we will have the indicators like emissions or GHG emissions, pollution load, and these kind of indicators would be in the right-hand box. I think everybody knows about these acronyms: SMART, accurate. So for example, SMART means sustainable, measurable, achievable, realistic. Similarly, for accurate, we have accessible, controllable, central, or what we call it as relevant for what we're trying to achieve, and U for understandable, reliable, acceptable, timely, and efficient to monitor or effective to monitor. These are just some acronyms, but these acronyms actually give us a good way of evaluating our performance indicators. So we can use any of these, or we could develop our own as well. Just to know that if we have performance indicators, generally in my view, these should be achievable, these should be time bound, these should be realistic. These are at least the three things that we should keep in mind. And obviously measurability is very important. So if we are putting in a performance indicator which we cannot measure, I mean, what is the use of making this kind of a performance indicator? So while setting targets for the measures that we are selecting, refer back to the process flow charts that we developed, for example, and the energy flow indicators that we developed. For example, we might have developed basic indicators like gigajoules energy used per year or per month, or total absolute GHG emissions, or number of NPOs, or total quantity of wastewater, or total quantity of heat in wastewater. Then the productivity related ratios, or the simple ratios, for example, gigajoules of energy per ton of product, or some regression based normalized ratios could also come in handy if we have developed those. And then come the intensity ratio. So these are related to the impact. Remember this right hand side box, the environmental conditions indicator. This is where these fit in. So tons of CO2 emitted per ton of product, or tons of or kilograms of particulate matter released in air from boiler per ton of steam, for example. So these kind of indicators, intensity ratios, we could also develop. Some examples, for example, in energy inputs, we could develop indicators like share of fossil energy in energy mix, or we could put a target based indicator, for example, increase in share of renewable energy. So we could say we want to increase the share of renewable energy from 0% to 10% in next 2 years, and then up to 40% in next 7 or 8 years, for example. Then total absolute GHG emissions. This is what we also have to report to the textile buyers and to HIG-FEM as well. Then energy consumption per production unit. Then on demand side, we could have indicators like individual significant energy uses and their energy performances, or percent of total waste heat recovered, maintenance cost related to energy use, for example, leakages, electronic failures, number of health and safety incidents involving energy like shocks, hot surfaces, direct exposure to high pressure, for example, number of physical damages involving energy like electric fire, pressure vessel explosions, or gas releases. Then talking about energy management, we could talk about percentage of total energy use monitored using meters, or number of internal awareness campaigns, number of trainings conducted, number of workers attending training per or number of awareness sessions conducted, for example, number of workers showing improvement in behaviors after training, or number of non-conformances identified during internal ENMS and audit. So there could be different performance indicators that we can develop. How to use these indicators? We can use these indicators to compare energy efficiency or resource productivity or environmental safety or health performance over time. So if we have baseline values and if we have set a target value, we can see if we are going to achieve these values or not, and where we are now after a year or number or 2 years or after a few months compared to the baseline. Then we can also highlight improvement, comparing them with the previous baseline and show how much we have improved, or we can show how much we can improve. So setting a target and showing how much we can improve based on that. So optimization potentials. Then identify and follow up on targets, for example, this we already discussed, or discover market opportunities or cost reduction potentials, motivating staff, educating staff, supporting decision making. So if you have concise learning, concise information available, we can show trends of where our resource use can go if we do business as usual, and if we do improvements, then what we can achieve. So that is a comparison that we can show as well. So I'm communicating the results, implementing energy management system. So different ways we can benefit from using ENPIs. Then we can develop our implementation plan. For example, this is one template of implementation plan. So on the first column, we can show the losses or the critical situations that we have seen. For example, hot water drained from rope dyeing machine. That is what we observe. And proposed measure is install wastewater heat recovery system. Results of proposed measures in terms of energy, GHG, USD, ROI, we can put in the values in multiple columns. So we could have a cost reduction column, then we could have an energy column, water column, GHG emissions column, kilowatt hours column, for example, USD investment column, absolute energy reduction column, IRR or EAA, GHG emissions, multiple columns we can have. Then necessary action. So dividing this into multiple sub actions. So develop technical requirements, then we hire contractor, then we install system and conduct first trials, then we commission the system. And for every task, we need to have responsible people, deadlines, and then the targets to be monitored. So for example, in this case, we need to monitor total GHG emissions. So this is what it will link to, and energy consumption per production unit, this is also what it will link to. So that is one way of developing the action plan. There is another action plan template that I have uploaded. This is also uploaded as a template, blank template, and a template by HIG FEM, HIG Facility Environment Module. So the template that they have, this also has one example there. For example, what are the improvement actions? Which section does it belong to? Does it belong to energy, water, wastewater, solid waste, air emissions, chemicals? What does it belong to? For example, this example measure belongs to water use. Then describing what the measure is. So using batch ranging instead of continuous flow. Then the findings before taking action. What were our findings? Would describe the proposed actions, what actual tasks we have to perform, who's the responsible person, what are the baseline conditions, so x cubic meter per meter, then the deadlines, reduction target, so how much percentage are we going to reduce, what are the potential savings in terms of monetary value, final implementation dates, what is the current status, is it implemented, not implemented, is it in progress. So this can also be used for monitoring purpose then, and then putting in some comments or remarks. So this is a very good template, and if we use this template, then we actually help companies in fulfilling their HIG FEM requirements as well. And then there is another example. This example comes from this Georgia Tech Research Corporation and US Department of Energy. This is one template of one energy management action plan. So they have described what action do you want to do, what are the different activities that have to be performed, how will this be verified, and what are the actual results, and who signs this off. So this is the one that you can use in your reports, for example, where you are compiling the list of opportunities. So you can describe each opportunity in this way, and this way the factories will be also able to develop a detailed project planning. Then we could also use a regression line for target setting. For example, this was a regression line for spinning, for multiple spinning mills. And if we knew that these mills which are above this line, we knew their action plan of implementation. So we estimated how much they can save. Based on that, we estimated their new energy consumption. So we developed a new line, a new regression line. And you can see that their old regression line and new regression line have different constant values now, because this is a target line. The earlier one was the actual current line. Similarly, we can do for internally for our company as well. So if we have a regression based normalized indicator, we can put in savings there and use it for the target setting as well. Another example, this is a simpler example. If we have simple indicators like kilowatt hour per kilogram or kg steam per kg, these kind of indicators we could put in our energy report, that what is your current value, and if you implement all the measures, what will be your new values be, and how much percentage of reduction you can achieve there, what will be the quantity of reduction, how much monetary value you can achieve. So this is also one way of showing the possible savings based on the proposal that we are giving to the factories. And then we can use an improvement board for monitoring purposes, for example. So if there are bigger projects, for example, or we could use overall action plan, we can put our overall goals on top here. In every meeting, we can put new issues that are coming up, for example, coal price hike, new steam leakages, engine maintenance overdue, for example, just examples. And then we could put work in progress, which are the options we are working on at the moment, which are put on hold, what are the results of successes that we have achieved, and what are the areas that we need to monitor. So this is kind of one example of an implementation board which you can put in factories, for example, for in the energy auditors room or the energy teams room, so that they can, on one side put an action plan, and on the other side they can monitor their progress using this as well.